This video is meant to reveal the answers to the midterm quiz for study purposes, especially to help you begin to prepare for the final exam. I'd like to not only reveal the actual answers, but also give some insight into the thought process that goes into answering these questions. Question 1, which of the following locations would have the lowest flood risk? In question A, a dam can always fail. In question C, channelization generally does not prove to be a 100% effective flood control methodology, and channelization tends to make flooding problems worse downstream. So while a citizen might think that they're protected from flooding by either A or C, the fact is the only way to have a zero flood risk is to be in an elevated area out of the floodplain. Question number 2, which of the following increases the likelihood of a flash flood? Flash flooding is associated with cases in which water flows quickly and accumulates quickly. So areas that have steep slopes, which make the water flow quickly, and narrow stream valleys, which fill with water very quickly, are ideal for flash floods. Areas with forests and thick vegetation, on the other hand, tend to absorb a lot of water and have minimal runoff, so flooding is rare in areas that are forested or have thick vegetation. Areas that have a broad floodplain, even if they have no levees, won't generate flash floods. They may generate river basin flooding or slow floods, as they might be called. But if there's a broad floodplain, especially with no levees, the water will spread out over a large area and not become a flash flood, but rather a slow-moving downstream flood. Number 3 is just a recognition question. Severe tornadoes often occur in Bangladesh and the parts of India that are right next to Bangladesh. The other answers are decoys. The reason that tornadoes occur in Bangladesh is because the same set of circumstances exist in Bangladesh, with a large warm body of water, the Indian Ocean, being in close proximity to a cold air mass generated by the Himalayas. So the answer to question 3 is Bangladesh. A hurricane and a typhoon are the exact same thing. That's just a definition question. What is storm surge? Storm surge is a dangerous phenomenon associated with a hurricane that really is caused by two principal phenomenon. One is the mounding of water that's created by the low pressure in the center of the large low pressure center in the middle of a hurricane, in which the water is actually sucked upwards into a mound a considerable distance. And the largest factor affecting storm surge is the extreme winds, which push large quantities of water on shore. The heavy precipitation associated with hurricanes tends to not last long enough or be large enough to actually have a significant effect on sea level itself. It may raise it a few more inches, but the principal reasons for storm surge are A and B. Question number 6. A tornado is a very devious phenomenon, in that a tornado is usually a trailing effect of a large thunderstorm or supercell. The tornado tends to be at the back end of the storm, and the tornadoes usually occur after the rain and hail have already passed, and after there seems to be some hope that the storm is lessening. Then is when the tornado is most likely to occur. And it's possible to see, it's possible to figure out this question as well by looking at any of the diagrams of supercells or thunderstorms that have been presented in class, which shows that the anvil cloud or the high clouds are the first phenomenon to pass. The rain and hail and heavy precipitation are the second thing to pass. And then towards the end of the storm, the wraparound winds at the back of the storm are most likely to form into the tornado. Question number 7. Hurricanes are classified on the Saffir-Simpson scale, which is a numeric scale from 1 to 5, and that is the principal component of, or the principal method of classifying a hurricane. The maximum sustained winds, which are relatively hard to measure and are only a component of the Saffir-Simpson scale, is not as good an answer as answer A. I think because wind speeds and the category or Saffir-Simpson categorization of a storm are so closely associated now, I think I probably will go ahead and accept answer A and C, F, which is A and C, or answer A, the Saffir-Simpson scale, although I prefer that there is the single numeric official measurement of classification of a hurricane, the Saffir-Simpson scale. Question 8 is a numerical question, and the way in which this question is figured out is to realize that every 1,000 feet of elevation, for every 1,000 feet of elevation, the temperature of an air mass decreases by 5.5 degrees, and just to complicate matters a little bit, the dew point falls by 1 degree. So basically, this is the way that this problem can be solved is to start at the surface and move upward, and every 1,000 feet subtract 5.5 degrees from the temperature and subtract 1 degree from the dew point. And after 4 steps, in the case of question number 8, after 4 steps or climbing up to 4,000 feet, the temperature and the dew point will be the same, and that by definition is the place at which a cloud will form, where water will begin to condense and a cloud will form. So the answer is D. It's solved by that numerical method. Question 9 is another numerical question. This applies the equation that the return period or the recurrence interval, I think is the term we use this semester, the recurrence interval of a storm is equal to n plus 1 over m, where n is the number of years of record and m is the rank of a particular storm. So n plus 1 in this case is 49 plus 1, which is 50. So the numerator in our computation is always going to be 50. In order to find the recurrence interval of the 10th largest storm, we divide 50 by 10 and get 5. So for this 400 cubic feet per second flood, the chances are 1 in 5, are 5. The return period. I got ahead of myself. The return period or recurrence interval of the 10th largest storm would be estimated at 5 years. If the storm comes around once every 5 years, the chance that it'll happen in any particular year is 1 over 5, or 20%, which is the chances, and that's answer D. In question number 10, we go on to talk about the video we saw about the Mississippi River flood of 1927, and one of the most notable and important aspects of this video was the social aspects regarding the treatment of the African Americans who lived in the community of Greenville at that time. The important thing being that although slavery had been abolished many decades earlier, the African Americans were still a very severely exploited source of labor for the wealthier landowners and farmers in the area. So while the black people at that time were no longer enslaved, they were still trapped and exploited economically by the system. And in the aftermath of this great flood, a decision was made behind closed doors by the community leaders that although there was an opportunity, there were available barges and riverboats to take the refugees, the black people who'd been flooded out. Although there was an opportunity to evacuate them to a more reasonable place, there was a significant fear that if they were allowed to leave the community, they might see better prospects for themselves and might never actually come back, and therefore this exploited and inexpensive source of labor wouldn't be available anymore. Answer C is just is a bogus answer. Answer B is completely wrong. There were boats supplied, and these boats were turned away by the committee of community leaders who wanted to make the African Americans stay. So the answer to number 10 is actually question A. I'm going to break here and make this into a two-part video, or else I'll go over my 15-minute time limit.